City. My name is Mackey. I'm the lay leader this month. Welcome to this time to reflect and reconnect. We welcome people of all genders, all sexual orientations, all ability levels, from all faith backgrounds. We welcome you into this community of responsible seeking and justice-centered living. For the opening words today, I've chosen a meditation called My Commitments to Myself by Reverend Lauren Mancuso. I take care of myself first because I am deserving of exquisite care. I take care of myself to maintain the capacity to help others. I move and stretch my body every day. I spend time in nature, attuning my senses to the earth's wisdom. I ration my daily exposure to the news. I identify and access credible sources of information. I protect myself from becoming overwhelmed by information about the pandemic. I pace myself. I sit with the reality of uncertainty and impertinence and allow it to temper my desire for control. I listen without judgment to others' reactions, which may be different from mine. I forgive myself and others when stress brings out our shadow selves. I feel fear fully when I am fearful. I experience sadness fully when I am sad. I seek out healthy pleasures and indulge them without guilt. I remind myself that feelings are transient states that move through me. They do not last. They do not define me, nor do my thoughts. I balance my drive for self-improvement with compassionate acceptance of myself as I am right now. I initiate contact with loved ones to let them know I hold them in my heart. I seek out with increased sensitivity those who are the most vulnerable. If possible, I share my resources with those who need help to survive. When possible, I move away from people, situations, and experiences that do not serve the highest good. I strengthen my connection to my resources of spiritual strength so that I can continue to be replenished. I acknowledge that the nearness of death as a key motivator for living a full life. I pray for the suffering of all beings to cease. I grieve my losses and celebrate my successes. I remain open to new ways of being, surprising sources of joy, and anticipated discoveries every day. For our opening song, we have a treat for you all today. We're going to do number 347, Gather the Spirit. We have Clark Sturdivant to sing for us today.
the Spirit harvests apart. Our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour, our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy, gather in compassion and strength, gather once again. In peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy, hope, compassion, and strength, once again. Gather the Spirit in all, from by the moon and by the sun, witness to bring summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to the great once again.
Thank you very much, Barry and Clark. So now we will light the chalice. Please say with me. To light the chalice. We gather this hour as people of gift, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs.
We invite this beacon of hope,
Sign
sign our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together.
So now is the time of service when we invite anyone who wishes to do so to call out an individual or a group of people for whom they would like to light a candle. I would like to start by lighting a candle for Norma De Leo and her family. Her brother passed away from COVID-19 this week. I would also like to light a candle for the healthcare workers who are caring for everyone at this very dangerous time. May they continue to stay safe.
So I have a candle request. This is from Amber. She'd like to light a candle for belated Happy Mother's. Wait a minute. Hold on, it moved for me. Belated Happy Mother's Day to all of you, man or woman, that have supported AJ and I in some way.
Okay, so a belated Happy Mother's Day from Amber to everyone who have assisted her. We have other candles.
And she added another candle to celebrate AJ's 8 months.
Oh my heavens. AJ has been on this planet for 8 months. That is something to celebrate. It's quite the long time. Other candles?
We have one from Ralph, since he can't come in person.
Okay, Ralphie.
I would like to light a candle for potential lost important computer files after it got cleaned.
Uh-oh. Well, hopefully you can find those computer files. That's always very tough. So candle for that.
How about a candle? Are there any birthdays? Do we want to sing happy birthday or play happy birthday for anyone?
Yes, are there any birthdays?
Nothing is showing up at the moment, but we could sing it anyway. There's probably somebody out there with a birthday.
Light a candle.
Okay, I'm muting my mic.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
I would like to light for parents and grandparents and other caretakers, children, who for whom this is a very, very difficult time. And I'd like to light another candle for those people for whom staying at home is a luxury that they cannot afford, and those people with the opening back up of businesses who have to work in the public. Do we have other candles?
Yes, Rita Lyman wants to light a candle for Corey's son and daughter-in-law moving through a high-risk pregnancy.
Oh my. Okay. For health and well-being during a high-risk pregnancy, we all pray that there's a great outcome. Do we have any other candles to be lit?
I have one more.
Okay.
I would like to light a candle for sanity. Today, I don't know how else to explain it, but the news I can't watch, and I stumbled into the daily podcast where I got to hear Dr. Anthony Fauci. And I finally heard news or a podcast that gave me hope. And in the middle of the night, while I couldn't sleep because of this, I got to hear the chairman of Verizon and the hope of how America, they transformed 115,000 people of employees in 2 weeks to home-based work. So, yes, I rarely go into rah-rah America, but we are adaptable, and for once I got to hear 2 newscasts that gave me hope.
It is amazing, our ability to adapt. Do we have any other candles?
Nothing on the chat box.
Okay. I would light one final candle then for joys or concerns that remain silent, but that may be thought of in silence. We will have a moment of silent meditation, and following that, we will do number 1009 in the Teal book, Meditation on Breathing. Blessed be. And now for meditation on breathing.
I didn't get that one, by the way, so just be Terry.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Terry. So this is the time in our service when I remind you how important it is to pay the church. You pay your light bill, you put gas in your car, you do a lot of things, you have to support your church. And also remember that we have Change for Change, which that money goes to meeting the needs of individuals and groups within our community. Please send money to the church, and please remember Change for Change.
So Karen, I'd like to add something. We now have a donate button on our church website. So if you go to siouxcityuu.org, there's a donate button, and in red letters, you can click on that, and it gives you the opportunity to choose between church expenses or Change for Change. You can use a credit card or PayPal, whatever your choice is.
Perfect. That is wonderful. Thank you very much, Greg.
Yes.
So I'm going to start with a short story, actually. It's called Tiny the God. It's by Becky Brooks. Once upon a time, there was a tiny, little, itty-bitty, very small, tiny little god named Tiny. She lived her life hearing stories of all the big gods. And well, let's face it, she was jealous. She knew she needed to think of some kind of special spark of an idea that would make her existence meaningful. After watching the humans for a long time, she hit upon something that just might work, something that might get people to think, yeah, that Tiny has really got a good idea going. This was it. This was going to make her famous. Ready? Here it is. You are not alone. She took the form of a very light breeze, and in a voice so quiet each person heard it only in their mind, she said, you are not alone. You are not alone. People loved it. It was perfect, because who doesn't want to hear that? Pretty soon, Tiny was comforting people all over with, you are not alone. Every evening, she took the form of the breeze and whispered it in people's minds. Until one day, she encountered someone who wasn't comforted at all. When Miriam heard Tiny's words in her mind, instead of feeling comforted, she felt agitated. Something was just kind of off about it. She kept saying it to herself over and over again, you are not alone, you are not alone. She tossed and turned, she couldn't sleep. In the morning, she went to read the paper, and instead of skimming everything, she found herself drinking in every single story. She was only halfway through when she found herself crying. "I am not alone," she said. "I am connected to every one of these people. They live in my town, in my country, in my world. They love their children like I love mine. They're scared sometimes, and so am I. They hurt like I hurt. I am alone. I can help." Tiny was surprised. It hadn't occurred to her that someone might think of it that way. Tiny kept watching over Miriam to monitor this interesting development. Miriam and a coworker met online in a meeting and talked about a law they hoped the Senate would pass. Tiny noticed when Miriam wrote a letter to her senator about it right away. She noticed that when Miriam turned in her grocery order, she bought a few extra things for her neighbor and left them with a colorful note on their porch. She noticed that Miriam had tears in her eyes when she joined in her congregation's worship on her computer and heard her favorite hymn through the small speakers. Miriam got out her phone and made an extra donation to her congregation. She watched as Miriam wrote postcards to friends and family near and far, waved to the dog walkers who passed by her house, and strung up colorful lights in her living room window. But most importantly for Tiny, she noticed when Miriam received a phone call one evening from a friend she hadn't heard from in a long while. His voice was shaking. "I'm having a hard time," he said. He started to tell her about his troubles, but he began to cry. Miriam got herself comfortable in her favorite chair. "Take your time. I'll stay on the line with you. You are not alone. I am here." "I am here." Tiny heard those words like an echo in her mind. "You are not alone. I am here. You are not alone. I am here." In that moment, Tiny knew that she was nothing without Miriam's hands and heart and spirit. And she knew that what she wanted, what the world needed more than anything, was that Miriam had learned to give. So Tiny went to work. Instead of spending her evenings spreading the gospel of "you are not alone," she spent her night times doing it too, her mornings and afternoons. Pretty soon she was spending every moment doing it until she became the breeze itself. And that's why there are no paintings of Tiny. No busts or holy books, just a breeze, a low voice, and many, many helping hands, loving hearts, and caring spirits. You can hear the echo if you listen closely. "You are not alone. I am here." When water bottles are left in the desert for those who risk their lives to cross it, "You are not alone. I am here." At the bedside of a dying man, "You are not alone. I am here." In the jailhouse, in the sanctuary, "You are not alone. I am here." Separate and together, "You are not alone. I am here." So how do we be here for others during a pandemic? How do we tell people that they are not alone, that we are here for them? Parents especially have been going through a very difficult time. They've been trying to be a combination parent, teacher, and jailhouse guard, while usually trying to simultaneously work, often from home. To make matters worse, both the jailers and the young prisoners are experiencing a collective slow-motion disaster. Our lives have been disrupted, and it will be a long, long time before things right themselves. The most important thing in a disaster is mitigating its impact on your bodies and psyches. So in addition to staying inside, go easy on yourself. Remember to comfort yourself. You can't take care of others until you take care of yourself. For those of you who've flown, remember what they say: if the oxygen masks drop, you put yours on first, so then you can help others. You know, kids are pretty resilient though. Based on the reports I received from my admin that works with me about her kids, the inmates are getting a little bit more than stir crazy. Some of this has become their new normal. Paula's great niece, Autumn, or as we refer to her, Peanut, is in kindergarten. Every weekday, Peanut's class has Zoom time. The teacher tells them, she reads them a book, and then afterwards they get to socialize. That's their class. Peanut calls it her meeting. She loves it, and she feels very adult. It's her new normal. When I was a kid, my father worked for the state of Iowa for a while, and his territory was Northwest Iowa. So he was gone a lot, so the weekends were very important. Well, one Friday he had a meeting in Emmitsburg, and he forgot his briefcase. Did not realize it until he'd gotten home. I was maybe 8 years old. And so what he ended up doing was he took me, Mom got to have the day off, and the two of us drove to Emmitsburg together. He probably made that trip hundreds of times, but he handed me a map of Iowa, told me I was the co-pilot, and I had to tell him what highways he needed to be on. Now this played perfectly into me because I love maps. I have always loved maps. So I would pore over the map. I knew exactly where we were, where we needed to go. If we came to a fork in the road or anything, he would ask me, which way do we go? And I would tell him, so I got him safely to Emmitsburg and back. And it's like this fond memory of my childhood, something that was a pain in his neck, probably. It was a disruption. It wasn't fun, but it was only a day. But because he involved me in some different ways, it made it into a fun memory. And I think Peanut is going to have the fond memories of her Zoom meetings when she was 5 years old. I read something at the beginning of all this. The writer said that if you don't come out of this with a new skill, a new side hustle, or some major thing accomplished in your life, that you've wasted this time. Frankly, for parents, getting through this time with your sanity intact may just have to be enough. Since we don't have any kids in our home, I've devised a list that I've been putting together of things I've put off forever because of the gargantuan nature of the task. And I'm slowly working my way through them. I go into my home office occasionally just to marvel at what I've accomplished. My desk is cleared off. That sounds simpler than it is. You couldn't see my desk. The stacks were so high. Cleared my desk off. I've reorganized my cabinets. The space is something that you can walk into and not have a panic attack. But you need to be realistic and adapt as needed. At the beginning of this, I vowed that I would only shop at locally owned stores, preferably those owned by people of color, LGBTQ people, or women. Reality soon set in. I did try to shop at a small locally owned store, but they never had everything I needed. So then I ended up having to go to a second store, which then risked further exposure to COVID-19. And upon reflecting 2 or 3 visits in, it occurred to me that during my visits there, they were doing fine for customers. They're located in a very poor neighborhood. A lot of people in the area don't have cars. So that's the only grocery store people could go to. And so I quit shopping there. Their regular patrons needed what food there was. The store was doing fine off the patrons that they had. And I was able to lessen my shopping to brief, very brief, weekly forays into Fairway, which is still a smallish store. You need to know also what you can control and what you can't. My spouse, Paula, who's way more of an introvert than I am, oddly cannot quit going out. And I can't control that. She apparently needs to spend time with her family, and you would think hanging out with her sister Leela, who lives with us, would be enough, but it isn't. So the two of them go visiting family members, and then afterwards, they stop for Leela to load up on groceries. There's nothing I can do to stop them. But figured out something. It's like I started texting Paula a small grocery list, didn't want to overwhelm her, but 3 or 4 things that we needed. Whenever I realized that she was out and about. The Find My Spouse app on the phone is great. I know that's not what it's really called, but that's what we use it for. So if she's not home and she's not at work, I'll look at my app. Where is she? Oh, she's at her sister Jackie's in Dakota City. She'll be stopping by a store on the way back, and it's great. The result is I haven't seen the inside of a grocery store in over 3 weeks. In fact, it's been so long, Hy-Vee was so concerned that they sent me a $10 coupon if I just come and spend $30. So I texted Paula the information how to access the coupon. And again, I didn't have to go inside the store. Now, I go to work because I have to. There's usually only one person in my office, and we socially distance. We're very careful. And then I go home, and that's it. The more grounded and resilient you are, the more life will be okay for those around you, and the more use you will be to others. So here's some ideas to help you be resilient. Besides, make sure you take time for yourself. Indulge yourself occasionally, but make regular plans to connect with your friends. Set aside some time each day to be alone. Know the signs of when you need help and reach out to others. Do what you think is right. Do what you are able to sustain, and practice gratitude. Jillian, who participates in Siouxland Pride Alliance, several months ago at our Friday, when we were actually meeting in person, that long ago, started us on this thing of practicing gratitude. What is something you are grateful for? Because for some of the people in our group, Friday group had turned into an airing of complaints and grievances and what had gone wrong in their week that week. And Jillian turned it into, what is something that you are grateful for? Something that makes you happy. What do you express some gratitude? And that really is important. You can't always be negative. Practice gratitude. And what are some things you can do for others? Well, you can call or video message grandparents, older friends who are alone. If you do have to go to the grocery store, yes. If you have an elderly neighbor, pick up some groceries for them. Put them on their front door and ring the doorbell and then run. Practice revive the art of letter writing. We don't write letters enough. Send a letter card to others. Your COVID cooties will be dead by the time they get it, and let it sit a little while. Our mail goes to Sioux Falls anyhow, so even if they're in Sioux City, they're not going to get it for a few days. If you have some extra clothing, put it out by the rack by City Hall for people to take, or donate food, money, or clothing to the soup kitchen. The soup kitchen now, they always need money. They always need food, but they're also putting out clothing for people to take, because especially for our homeless folks, they really are one of the few places that they can rely on for assistance. And always remember, this pandemic is not hitting us all in the same way. There are all sorts of injustices here, and we aren't all resourced in the same ways. COVID-19 magnifies inequities in our society in ways that place some of our communities at greater risk. Undocumented workers, poor people, and refugees are more vulnerable. Are they going to be the collateral damage because they are viewed as less than human. At times like this, it is more important than ever to emphasize that no one is disposable. Public health means safeguarding the rights and well-being of us all. If the least of us is cared for, if the least of us has access to testing, we are all safer. And we all need help right now. Every person, regardless of your immigration status in this country, regardless if you're a citizen or not, everyone needs help, because if the least of us are not helped, then we are all in danger. Our public officials need to hear from us about any policy that interferes with the access of some members of our community to essential services. They need to hear from us. And of course, the usual excesses of this abhorrent administration continue unabated. Speak out, and speak out often. Since the start of the COVID-19 outbreak, we have seen a sharp increase in incidences of bigotry, harassment, and discrimination, particularly directed towards Asian Americans. This racist response to the outbreak has been fueled by the attempts of U.S. leadership to scapegoat other countries for the virus, even as our own government has placed all humanity at greater risk by its failure to secure prompt and adequate testing for COVID-19 and to take other necessary health measures. Still, they blame others. You need to take what steps you are able to call out xenophobia. Isn't it interesting how this once model minority, Asian Americans, as a person of color, I would get a little sick at times to hear about, well, look at them. They don't have the problems you do. They're good minorities. They were the model minority. And now they have once again become the yellow peril. This pandemic has laid bare the xenophobia and bigotry of our society. Push back however you can. Remember the quote from Margaret Mead that all it takes is a small group of people pushing for change. That's the only way change has ever happened. It's a small group of committed people working for change. Be the change you want to see. Take care of yourself. Be resilient. Survive. For our closing song today, oh my, I don't have that in front of me. I hope you have the number because I don't. But we do have a closing song.
131, Love Will Guide Us.
Thank you.
I apologize, counting very slowly backwards.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from beginning, love will guide us, the heart night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak for thousands, keep some deep within you. Change the world with your love. What will guide us? Guide us. Oh, guide us. Will lead the way. Oh, from beginning, God will guide us through the night.
Now is the time in our service when we have time for any announcements, which are an opportunity to go forth and live out our vision and values. Does anyone have any announcements?
So I have an announcement. This is from D. Phillips. Hello, friends. It seems Mother Nature is finally going to cooperate with us. The nighttime temperatures look as if they will maintain the proper warmth. We won't be able to plant our flower beds all together as we have done in the past, but I'm going to have flowers ready to plant at the churchyard on May 17th, which happens to be today, in the afternoon and into Tuesday the 19th. I thought if we spread out the time, we wouldn't be ganging up on a single day. If you have flowers of your own choosing, that works too. There are a dozen small and medium-sized areas ready for planting, so that if more than one person shows up at a time, you can spread out. At the end of Tuesday afternoon, if there are still areas to plant, I will take care of it. You will need to provide your own tools. There are 2 new areas to plant, in front of the church house porch and in front of the church by the hostess. Also, Carter is letting us use the window box on the porch. I hope I've made the arrangement clear, but if you have any questions, please call. By the way, that window box on the front porch was built by myself and my father. My father died 20 years ago. So throw that out there. I was thinking about him a lot today for some reason, and yesterday. That's my announcement.
Congratulations.
Are there any other announcements? Okay, for the closing words, I picked something from Lifting Our Voices, which are readings in the living tradition. The chalice is extinguished, but it lights, lives on in our minds and in the hearts and the souls of each of us. Let us carry the flame with us and share it with those we know and with those we love, and most especially with those we have yet to meet. Please join with me as I extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. This ends our service. Thank you for participating today.
Before I close the meeting, I want to show you the button on the church's website in case anybody wants to go ahead and donate. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. And I want to invite everyone to join us afterwards for a Zoom virtual coffee. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Oh, I have to take somebody away so I have room to share the screen. Okay, this is the Sioux City Unitarian Church website, siouxcityuu.org. If you'll notice, there's a button at the top for YouTube if you want to check out any of our sermons, and also a link for the Facebook page. And there's a big donate button that you're welcome to use. Thank you, everyone, and hope to see some of you at the virtual coffee.